Hi there, my name is Imogen and today I'm going to be telling you books that I think represent songs from Harry Styles' new album, Harry's House. I'd never heard of Harry Styles until today, but someone sent me this message and was like, you should listen to this guy's new album, and I was like, okay. Guys, I'm just joking. I'm obviously a very big Harry fan. So I have a reaction video coming of my reaction to Harry's House. It's like so long and I have to edit it and everything, and I'm doing exams and assessments, so it might just be a bit late, but you'll get it eventually. For now, we're just going to be doing books for each song from Harry's House. I've written some notes and I'm going to be sort of reading off this piece of paper. Some of the songs have just one, some of them have two because there's like a double meaning to the song. This is all just my opinion and my interpretation of the song. If you have any that you think represent a song, like just comment it down below. I'd love to talk about it more because I think it's so interesting and it's such a beautiful album. I love it so much, obviously, because I love anything Harry does. And yeah, so this is going to be that, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. So first up is the song Music for a Sushi Restaurant. This is one of my favorites from the album. It's so happy, it's so loud, it's so in love, and I think the vibes are really just that kind of like I'm in love and I don't care, who knows. And so for the books I've chosen for this, we have One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston and The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. One Last Stop is a really beautiful book, and it explores the perspective of both during the queer liberation movement and the kind of 21st century experience of queerness and coming out to your family and everything like that. I considered putting this for Matilda, but I ultimately chose it for Sushi because I think that the joy, and especially the queer joy of this book, is just, I feel like it needs to be spoken about more. It's obviously a really beautiful love story, but the joy and the pride from this book is just fantastic, and I really loved it. And I think by the end, when August and Jane are finally together, I just think it's so, like, I could picture them walking down the streets of Brooklyn listening to Music for a Sushi Restaurant. So yeah. The Love Hypothesis is a very beloved book talk book, so is One Last Stop, I'd guess. And I think that, again, it's kind of like the ending gets to Music for a Sushi Restaurant vibes. Like, green eyes, brown rice, I could cook an egg on you. I feel like Adam would say, I could cook an egg on you. Like, I don't know why, but I really got Adam and Olive vibes from that specific line, I could cook an egg on you. And it's like, normal people just say you're hot, but Adam and Olive would say they could cook an egg on each other. And I just think that it's like, again, very happy, very in love, and like doesn't care who knows and doesn't care who sees. So track number 2 is Late Night Talking. I interpreted Late Night Talking as kind of a pining for someone you don't necessarily already have a relationship with, but you're definitely trying to help them through something, as well as when you're already in the relationship trying to help them through something when you can't actually physically be there. So for that interpretation, I've chosen the book The Flat Share. I thought this was such a perfect representation of that song. Tiffy and Leon hardly ever meet, and they always talk through these little sticky notes. They tell each other their problems, they tell each other their deepest, dark secrets, and even though it's like they kind of can't be together until obviously the end, they still kind of, you know, like love finds a way. And I just think it's very Late Night Talking vibes, and I really just was very happy when I decided that would be the book for this song. I'm smiling so much even thinking about it. It's such a beautiful book. It's so sweet. It's so heartwarming. And I really get the same kind of vibes from Late Night Talking, and just kind of like, you kind of just want to like boogie along. And I feel like that's The Flat Share summed up. So track 3 is Grape Juice. I personally interpret Grape Juice as not only as like the literal sense of like a hangover, but also being reliant on something when you know that you kind of can't not be reliant on it, if that makes sense. Like, not necessarily addiction, but definitely that kind of feeling of having to rely on something or someone, and it always ends up being a negative experience. So for that, I've got 2 books that I've chosen. Number 1 is The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and number 2 is Daisy Jones and the Six. Everyone really, I feel like, knows about The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and everyone, I think, knows that it's an incredibly sad book, but it's also incredibly unique in the way that it describes and shows Charlie's depression and kind of like his journey with depression and mental health issues, along with everything else that's happening in his life. I really feel like this kind of resonates with my interpretation of Grape Juice, because maybe I mean, at least until the end of the book, he knows that there's all these bad things happening, but he doesn't really do anything about them for himself. That's kind of like, you know, because he doesn't have the mental energy, or because he's kind of avoiding it and everything like that. So I think it's very sad. I do think Grape Juice is a very sad song. But yeah, so I would definitely say Perks of Being a Wallflower. And then for Daisy Jones and the Six, I've taken it kind of a bit more literally, as in actual substance abuse. I think Daisy Jones and the Six is a really good exploration of like not only the hangover of the rock and roll life, but the hangover of love and the hangover of everything that comes along with it. And I think that Daisy Jones and the Six does a really beautiful job of like exploring the way that people kind of get a mental hangover from each other, from like exasperated with each other, just got the word. And I think that just kind of really represents Grape Juice to me. It kind of also, Grape Juice also kind of gives me like This Is Me Trying vibes by Taylor Swift. And I do think while This Is Me Trying is much sadder, I would put both of like this book in both of those song categories. So yeah, that's Grape Juice. For As It Was, which is I've had the longest time to think about, I've chosen Before the Coffee Gets Cold. The main message of As It Was is change is really scary, and it can be good and it can be bad. And I think that perfectly sums up this book. People going back in time to visit loved ones, and sometimes getting stuck there, and sometimes coming back and regretting it. I just think it's such a perfect summation of this book. And I think that As It Was, it's so upbeat, and this book is so beautiful, and you think it's going to be so happy, and then it's so depressing and sad. I think it does a really good job of exploring that kind of feeling of, even though you know you have to move on and you know you might have to change, you don't want to, and you don't want to face up to the fact that everything is going to be bad when you come back. And I think that As It Was and this book both really explore like that kind of perspective. And so yeah, I think that's pretty good. Track 5 is Daylight. For Daylight, I've chosen our first Emily Henry book of the video, Book Lovers. I interpret Daylight to be kind of, this might be a bit of a difficult relationship. It might be some circumstances are not permitting us to be together. Like, I really love you. I'm obsessed with you. Like, I am cursing the daylight, because if we could only see each other at nighttime, I would block out the sun. It's that kind of vibes. And I think there is definitely an element of like, you're a bit of a difficult person, or you might not be listening to me, or you might not be doing things that would be helping yourself, but I still love you and I still want to be here for you, and I still, you know, I want to support you through all of that. And I really think that that is Book Lovers summed up. I think Nora and Charlie definitely have, like, I kind of think both of them could be singing from the perspective of Harry in the song Daylight. And yeah, I just think it works really, really well. So yeah, that is track 5, Daylight. Track 6 is Little Freak, and this one was kind of difficult for me because I think I needed to listen to Little Freak quite a few times before I fully could make my interpretation of what the song was about, especially because Harry said he wrote it quite a while ago. So I ultimately think that Little Freak is like that relationship in your life that never felt finished. And even though you guys may have moved on, you still will always have love for them. And you will still always feel like it may have been like that kind of right person, wrong time trope. So for that, I chose the book One Day by David Nichols. You may have seen the movie with Anne Hathaway. And this is just a perfect representation of Little Freak to me, because it's like we could have the best romance and the best love and everything like that, but ultimately we're just not the right people for each other, and it's just not the right time for us, even if we were the right people. And I just think it's really like, I love Little Freak so much, and I really liked this book, and I really love the movie, and I feel like it just really kind of sums up that like we might not be together and that's okay, similar to like La La Land. I would say it's very giving La La Land. And I just really, I was kind of, again, really happy when I got that one, because I went and bought this book today for this video because I've read it twice from the library, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy it because I want to read it again. And thinking about how much I love Little Freak, I was like, I'm gonna read One Day again. But yeah, so that was track 6. Did I say track 7? Track 6. I can't count. Track 6, Little Freak. So track 7 is the saddest song ever, Matilda. I can't even. Matilda is so devastating. I cried the first time I heard it, and I was just like, oh, I wasn't ready to be confronted with my reality today. But for that song, I've chosen 2 books. I have chosen Radio Silence by Alice Oseman and Normal People by Sally Rooney. Radio Silence is the perfect queer story in my personal opinion. It deals with so many aspects of queerness and family and teenage relationships and everything like that, that it just feels like Aled's story is so Matilda. Like, Aled would be crying in their dorm room listening to Matilda, like, oh, I can't even, it's just so devastating. And I just feel like, it's so heavily queer coded that, I mean, maybe that's just I don't know, because that's just kind of how I'm interpreting it. But anyway, Radio Silence is so sad, it's so happy, it's so everything. And if you've listened to Matilda and you're like, I want to consume a piece of media that is like that feeling, Radio Silence is the one. And then Normal People, I've already seen a lot of people say that Normal People is Matilda is Marianne's song, and I would agree. I do think it's both of their songs. I considered putting Normal People for Little Freak, kind of that right person, wrong time thing, because, you know, in Normal People, they're never really in sync and they're never really ever going to be happy because they can never let each other go. And I think it's actually a very tragic book. I know a lot of people interpret it as like this beautiful love story, but I've always interpreted it as like a very modern tragedy, in the sense that like they can't let each other go and they just can't, you know, letting each other go would be ultimately the best thing for both of them, and they can't bring themselves to do it, and that's why they're normal people. But I did end up putting it in Matilda, especially with the whole, like, you don't have to be ashamed of growing up and moving on. I think that represents Marianne and Connell's story really, really well. And so, yeah. So track 8 is Cinema. So we go a complete 180 from the saddest song ever, the saddest song ever, Matilda, to Cinema. And Cinema is a super hot, sexy song. My interpretation, this is what I've written in my notes of Cinema. You're literally so hot and sexy and we have so much chemistry. Not only that, but you're also extremely cool, and I'm in awe of how cool you are. And that's my interpretation of the song. So for that, I have chosen the book 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. This book is so good. It is so multifaceted, but ultimately I picked it for Cinema because Shane and Eva have just, they have so much chemistry, and they're both so smart and cool and hot and sexy, and they both know that the other one is smart, cool, hot and sexy, and they're so layered. That's such a good book. I would definitely recommend this book. If you really liked the song Cinema and you love that kind of I dig your cinema. I love Harry so much and I love that line so much, but I dig your cinema. I just think that represents Shane and Eva so well. I think they really dig each other's cinema, if you know what I mean. And yeah, this book is really, really good. It's obviously about way more than just them being cool, hot and sexy, but I thought that part of their relationship really kind of correlated well with Cinema, or at least my interpretation of Cinema. Track 9 is Daydreaming. This was a really difficult one for me because I feel like Daydreaming is such an interesting song in the way that it doesn't have too many lyrics. A lot of the lyrics are exactly the same. But also it's just like, I'm living in a daydream. Like I can't get over the fact that you want to be with me and that you're this hot and this sexy, which is kind of the same as Cinema. And I just feel like with Daydreaming, like the couple that I've chosen, they would do a lot of dancing around the kitchen. And I feel like that is part of like the essence of this song, is like we could literally just, like, we're living in a daydream. We could do anything we wanted to, and we just choose to dance around the kitchen in our underwear. So for that, I've chosen the book Take a Hint, Dani Brown. This is one of my favorite books ever. Definitely one of my favorite romances I've ever read. I think that Zafir and Dani would just, oh my God, like, listen to Daydream. If you've read this song, read this book rather, listen to Daydreaming, and don't tell me you don't get massive Dani and Zafir vibes. Like, they're just so hot, sexy, and I just feel like they would dance around the kitchen with each other. Like, they obviously have so much more going on, but Daydreaming ultimately is a song that's like, I'm living in a daydream because that's how cool you are, that's how in awe I am of you. And I just feel like that is Zafir and Dani, especially Zafir. He is down fucking bad, and yeah, I just think that really sums them up. Track 10 is Keep Driving, and this was the easiest one for me to do. Yeah, so I interpret Keep Driving as like, basically there's all this other stuff going on, but you know what? We're gonna go on a road trip we're gonna be in love, and that's all that matters. So for that song, I have chosen You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. People You've Been on Vacation by Emily Henry, if you're in the US. I just think this perfectly sums it up. Obviously, again, there's a lot going on. There's not just the fact that, you know, we're in love and that's all that matters. There's so much happening in the world, and there's so much happening in our lives, but ultimately we're gonna go on our summer trip and we're gonna fucking fall in love, because that's what happens in this book. And yeah, I just think it's really, really great representation of that. I mean, I'm smiling so much. I really enjoyed making this video, if you can't tell. And I should do more videos like this because I've really liked it. But yeah, so I just really think that Alex and Poppy are very much like the line, choke her with a sea view. I was literally like, okay. Anyway, I really think that Alex and Poppy are very much giving keep driving, like, yeah, I can't. I have so much to say. This is one of my favorite books ever. As everyone knows, I love Emily Henry. So yeah. Track 11, and one of my absolute favorite songs of all time, let alone my absolute favorite song from this album, is Satellite. Satellite to me is like, I'm right here, I'm waiting, and I'm hoping, and I'm wishing, and I'm praying that you're gonna come back to me. I'm literally bloody in orbit around the earth. I'm a satellite. And I am waiting for you to pull me back into you, and I orbit you, and you know, you're the center of my universe kind of vibes. And I think ultimately, the song kind of shows like, even if you don't want me back, I'll still be here. And I think it's sad, and I think it's a really beautiful song. So for this song, I've chosen 2 books. I've chosen Lie With Me and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Lie With Me is a really, really beautiful autofiction. I really think it represents that kind of like, I'm gonna remember you forever, and if I saw you randomly in a hotel lobby after 20 years, I would still want to be with you, and I would still want to chase after you kind of vibe. It's a really, really sad book, and I think that it really kind of goes along with that sadder vibe of Satellite. And I think that it's definitely giving like, I'm orbiting you, like you are the center of my universe, and no matter what you do, I will always be here circling, waiting for you to pull me in. And then obviously 7 Husbands is the same thing. I think this could go for any of the characters in 7 Husbands. I really just think that Evelyn and Celia's story is like very much Satellite, and kind of giving, I guess, right person, wrong time, and then wrong time, like, you know what I mean? Wrong person, right time a lot of the time. And I think that the story itself really and the characters especially are very much giving like, I'm waiting for you, and I'm waiting for you to pull me in, and if you don't, I'm still going to be here, and I'm still going to be orbiting you, because you are the center of my universe, you're the love of my life. So yeah, and I think that that's giving very much Evelyn and Celia. So track 12 is Boyfriends. The way I interpret Boyfriends is, even though men are fucked, and they might fuck you over and, you know, be really horrible to you, it's unfortunately the way that society is, and the way that abusive relationships are, that some people will go back to that situation, and that's not their fault. And I think that Boyfriends is a really beautiful way to kind of explore the kind of, I guess, like cyclical nature of abusive relationships, and the cycle that people get stuck in, but not just necessarily physical abuse, but also emotional abuse. Are you right? Okay. Hi. So for the 2 books I've chosen for Boyfriends are A Very Nice Girl and It Ends With Us. A Very Nice Girl is about a girl who basically enters into this relationship with this older man, and even though she's pretty much miserable the entire time, she loses everything that she loves in her life, she ultimately goes back to him, and that is not because of anything really to do with her, but it is because to do with him. He has made it so that she doesn't have much money. I'm just patting my dog. She doesn't have much money, she doesn't have any friends, she has no autonomy, and it's a really sad book because she gives up a lot of things that she loves. She gives up her career, her passion, and then she escapes, and then she goes back to him. And I think it's a really beautiful kind of exploration of that idea. And I think Boyfriends and this song are both very sad and very contemporary in that kind of way. And then It Ends With Us, I feel like is very obvious in the interpretation. Lily is obviously stuck in an abusive cycle, and she is stuck with Ryle. And she escapes on her own, and I won't hear anyone say that she escapes because of Atlas, because she doesn't. I think it's very sad. I wouldn't usually put a book like this on a list because I don't love it. It's not my favorite book in the world, but I do think that if people are looking for that sad vibe, then this is a perfect representation of that. And then the very, very last track is track 13, Love of My Life. I know Harry said this was about England and about like the feeling of home. Where is home? He grew up in England, he loves England, and ultimately that's the love of his life, because no matter where he goes, like, it'll still be there. I've gone for the kind of romantic sense, so I have chosen for Love of My Life, Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think this book is the love of my life. I think that, you know, Gus and January are each other's love of their life. Like, I don't ever see them breaking up. I could kind of see Alex and Poppy breaking up, maybe Nora and Charlie only to get back together, but I would never see Gus and January breaking up. They're just too solid, and they're too, like, okay, what I've written in my notes is, I would take you everywhere and anywhere, even a Chili's too. And that is kind of a hint to the extended epilogue that Emily Henry published. But I really do think that Gus and January are each other's home, and no matter where they go, they'll always have each other in their hearts, and they'll always have oh, hi, I know. Sorry, my dog really wants attention. They'll always have each other, and they're the loves of each other's life, the great, great love of each other's life. And I love listening to that song and imagining each of them kind of saying it to each other. And yeah, I think it's really, really beautiful, and I just think it sums it up perfectly. There's obviously, I could probably put Beach Read into any of these songs if I tried hard enough, but I picked it for Love of My Life to pick the happier side of Beach Read. Oh hi. So yeah, so that was every track on Harry's House having a book attached to it. My two favorite interests are books and Harry, so I'm really happy that I did this, and I'm really happy I managed to do it quite fast, because I thought it was going to take me weeks and weeks, but I managed to get the vibes of the songs pretty down, and I think I've done really well. If you disagree, let me know, because I'm happy to talk about it. And yeah, if you have any other ones that you want to talk about, or you have an idea of something that you think fits into the Harry's House vibe, let me know. I obviously love Harry's House, and I will say again that Sushi and Satellite are my two faves. I'm also loving Little Freak. But yeah, I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you agree with me. If you don't, let me know actually if you don't, because let's talk about it. But yeah, I hope everyone's enjoying Harry's House. I have a lot of uni to do before I go away, and a lot of working and stuff, so yeah. But I'll be doing vlogs, and I might do a little bookshop vlog of the UK, and I'll definitely vlog my experience of going to Harry's House. And yeah, thank you so much for coming to chat with me today. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm really proud of this video. I hope you like it. Yeah, I will chat to you again soon.